in this election. You see, now that both sides have made their argument, there's a big choice to make. And I honestly believe this is the biggest choice, the clearest choice of any time in our generation. Because it's not just a choice between two candidates or two political parties, it is a choice between two different paths for America. Two fundamentally different visions for how we move forward. See, ours is a fight for that basic bargain that built the largest middle class and the strongest economy the world has ever known. The promise that hard work will pay off, that responsibilities will be rewarded, that everyone gets a fair shot, everybody's doing their fair share, everybody's playing by the same rules, from Wall Street to Main Street to Washington, D.C. That basic bargain is why I ran for president, and that's why I'm running again. That's what this election's about. That is what this election is about. I mentioned last night, I got my start in service because I worked with folks who had been laid off from the steel plants that had closed when jobs started getting shipped overseas. And over the last 10 years, we've seen that happen more and more, and too many families struggling with costs that keep rising, even when paychecks don't. So people are having to use their credit cards or home equity loans just to try to make the mortgage or pay tuition or put gas in the car or food on the table. And that debt is why this house of cards collapsed in the Great Recession. Millions of innocent Americans losing their jobs and their homes, folks losing their life savings. And we are fighting to recover from that. And it's a long, tough journey. But our friends at the Republican convention, they talked a lot about what they thought was wrong with America. They didn't tell you what was right. They didn't tell you what they do to make it right. They want your vote, but they don't want to show you their plan. And that's because they know their plan won't sell. That's because all they've got to offer is the same prescriptions that they've had for the last 30 years. Tax cuts, gut some regulations, and more tax cuts. Tax cuts when times are good, tax cuts when times are bad. Tax cuts to help you lose a few extra pounds. Tax cuts to improve your love life. It'll cure anything, according to them. Now, let me tell you something. Listen, I've cut taxes for people who need it. Middle-class families, small business owners. In 2008, I promised I would cut middle-class taxes. The typical family's tax burden is, federal level, is $3,600 less since I took office. So I've kept that promise. I've kept that promise. We've cut taxes for small businesses 18 times. But I do not believe that another round of tax breaks for millionaires is what's going to bring good jobs back to our shores or pay down our deficit. I don't believe firing teachers or kicking students off financial aid is going to grow our economy, not when China's producing more engineers and more scientists, and we've got to compete with them. After we were on the brink of financial meltdown because of irresponsible decisions made on Wall Street, I don't believe that rolling back regulations there is somehow going to help small business women or businessmen expand or laid off construction workers get back to work. We have been there. We've tried what they're selling. It didn't work then. It's not going to work now. We're not going back. We are moving forward. That's why all you're here today. And I'm not going to pretend that this path is quick or easy. And by the way, I never have. As Bill Clinton reminded us on Wednesday night, it's going to take more than a few years for us to solve challenges that we're building up over decades. We know that. Today we learned that after losing around 800,000 jobs a month when I took office, business once again added jobs for the 30th month in a row, a total of more than 4.6 million jobs. But that's not good enough. We know it's not good enough. We need to create more jobs faster. We need to fill the hole left by this recession faster. We need to come out of this crisis stronger than when we went in. And there's a lot more that we can do. You know, when Congress gets back to town next week, you need to send them a message. Go ahead and give middle-class families and small businesses the confidence of knowing that their taxes, your taxes, will not go up next year. Everybody agrees we shouldn't raise taxes on the middle class. Let's go ahead and get that done. Let's get it done now. And by the way, if the Republicans are serious about being concerned about joblessness, we could create 1 million new jobs right now if Congress would pass the jobs plan that I sent to them a year ago. Jobs for teachers, jobs for construction workers, jobs for folks who've been looking for work for a long time. We can do that. But I need your help, New Hampshire. I need your voices. You see, I appreciate that. Then I need you to get your cousins, your friends, your coworkers. Look, I am not just asking for your vote. I'm asking the entire country to rally around a set of goals for our country. Goals in manufacturing, energy, education, national security, and the deficit. And this is a real achievable plan that will lead to new jobs and more opportunity and rebuild this economy on a stronger foundation. That's what we can do in the next 4 years. That's why I'm running for a second term as president, to finish the job, to keep moving forward, to build off the progress we've made. So let me be a little more specific. First, I've got a plan to export more products, not outsource jobs. After a decade of decline, this country created over 500,000 manufacturing jobs in the last 2.5 years. We've reinvented a dying auto industry that's back on top of the world. And so now, Americans, we have a choice. We can keep giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas, or we can start rewarding companies that are investing right here in New Hampshire, putting Americans back to work, selling products around the world. We can help big factories and small businesses double their exports. We can create 1 million new manufacturing jobs in the next 4 years. You can make that happen, but I'm going to need your help. Second, I've got a plan to control more of our own energy. You know, after 30 years of inaction, we finally raised fuel standards so that by the middle of the next decade, your cars and trucks will go twice as far on a gallon of gas. That will save you money. That will save you money. We've doubled our use of renewable energy, solar, wind, biofuels. And tens of thousands of Americans have jobs today because they're building wind turbines and long-lasting batteries. You know, the other side likes to talk about energy, but they don't mention that the United States of America is less dependent on foreign oil than at any time in nearly 2 decades. The other side wants to reverse that progress. I want to build on it. I'm not going to let oil companies dictate the country's energy plan. And I don't want them to keep collecting $4 billion a year in corporate welfare from our taxpayers. We've got a better path. We want to keep investing in wind and solar and clean coal technology. We want to see farmers and scientists harness new biofuels to power our cars and our trucks. I want construction workers who are sitting at home right now, I want them building homes and factories that waste less energy and retrofitting those that are already built to save energy. And we can develop a 100-year supply of natural gas right beneath our feet. If we choose this path, we can cut oil imports in half by 2020. We can support 600,000 new jobs in natural gas development alone. That's how we move forward. Third, let's do it. Let's do it. We can do this. We can do this. Look, third, I've got even more. I've got a plan to give more Americans the chance to gain the skills that they need to compete. You know, education, I would not be standing here if I hadn't gotten a great education. Michelle would not be where she is without the opportunities that were given. And as she told you on Tuesday night, we didn't come from wealth or fame or power. But in this country, we've always made a commitment that if you've got talent and you're willing to work hard, somebody's going to give you the opportunity to get a great education. And then you can go as far as your dreams can take you. It is the gateway to a middle-class life in the 21st century. So what have we already done? Nearly every state has answered our call to raise standards for teaching and learning. Some of the worst schools in the country have already seen real gains in math and reading. Millions of students are paying less for college today because we took on a system where $60 billion was going to banks and lenders as middlemen for the student loan program. We said, let's cut out the middleman, give that money directly to students so that they get a better deal. So now you've got a choice. We can gut our commitment to education like the other side's budget would end up doing, or we can decide here in America, no child should give up her dreams because a classroom's overcrowded or a school is crumbling. No family should set aside that college acceptance letter because they figure they just can't afford it. And no company should be looking for the workers they need overseas because they can't find them here at home. So, New Hampshire, I need you to help me recruit 100,000 math and science teachers and improve early childhood education and give 2 million workers the skills they need at community colleges and help colleges and universities cut tuition growth in half over the next 10 years. We can meet these goals together. That's the America that we want for our kids. Forward, forward. I need 4 more years and we're going to move forward. Fourth, my plan would reduce our deficit without sticking it to the middle class. Now, the debt and the deficit are real medium and long-term problems, and we're going to have to address it. And I want to get working. Independent analysis shows that my plan would cut our deficit by $4 trillion. That's with a T. And I've worked with Republicans in Congress already to cut $1 trillion in spending, and I'm prepared to do more. I want to reform our tax code so that it is simple and fair. And so it asks the wealthiest households in America to pay higher taxes on incomes over $250,000. So even well-to-do folks would still keep their tax break up to $250,000, but after that, we want to go back to the same rates we had when Bill Clinton was president. Our economy created 23 million new jobs then. We had the biggest surplus in history. We created a whole lot of millionaires.
President Obama out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I want to go to Mitt Romney. He's